what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Hello and welcome to Stepping Up Service. This is our show here on themesh.tv where we talk about customer service, the world of delivering great customer service to customers, clients, coworkers, employees. A lot of great information we try to share to the business community, whether you're a large business, whether you're a small business, entrepreneur, whatever it may be. Hopefully there's some good information we can share with you. My name's Alan Jackson. I'm with the Jackson Group. We handle a lot of employee and customer and patient satisfaction surveys for a variety of industries, a little more of a specialty in the healthcare market, but we've been delivering satisfaction surveys for over 35 years now. With me, my co-host on this show, Stepping Up Service, is Ed Gagnon with Customer Service Solutions. Ed, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Alan?
Doing just fine. Ed has spent many years and worked with many organizations on how they deliver customer service, really consulting, advising them on strategies for developing a stronger customer service culture in the organization. Just a whole plethora of things. Anything interesting you got going on right now, Ed?
Well, actually we do. We just signed a contract to do some work with the Major League Soccer team, which is neat. And we actually have another Major League Soccer team who contacted us 2 weeks ago about doing something as well. So
perfect.
That's something we've done a little bit over the last couple of years, but it sounds like the demand is getting greater and greater.
I'll refer people back to an earlier episode we did. I don't remember which number it is offhand, but it's one where we talked about customer service even in the pro sports arena, because you never really think of professional sporting events as needing to have good customer service for their patrons. But as Ed can certainly testify, it's extremely important in that business. So
yeah, it's very important if they care about retention, and one of the organizations in particular is trying to work with the local community to get a new stadium. So they want to make sure that they're delivering a very responsive, customer-oriented experience for the customers as they're going through that process.
Great, good. And people can learn more about Ed and his company, Customer Service Solutions, on the website at cssamerica.com. And I'm at the Jackson Group, which is thejacksongroup.com. And, of course, you're listening to themesh.tv, where we may refer back to some old shows from time to time on Stepping Up Service that you can go back in time and listen to. We keep all of them up on the website. They're all available for free to download, either through the website, through Apple iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Windows Mobile, a lot of different platforms to get your fix of Stepping Up Service on. So now, Ed, again, harking back to an older episode, we did an episode maybe last year on some great examples of customer service from small businesses. Because I know we talk a lot in our show, small businesses have their own sets of challenges, and delivering customer service is just as much a challenge there as anywhere else. We gave some great examples of some of those small businesses that were really getting it right on customer service and developing that culture. But at the same time, I think about it from a large business standpoint, a nationally or internationally known company. I've got to imagine the art of delivering excellent customer service is probably just heightened as far as its difficulty. There's a lot more moving pieces involved sometimes. You're geographically spread out over a much wider place. So the idea of delivering customer service, it's extremely high challenge for a large internationally known company, correct?
That's definitely right. And I like how you painted that picture, because if you're talking about different methods of delivering service, the geography associated with it, instead of having 3 to 5 to 10 employees trying to deliver the same level of service, which is extremely difficult as it is, imagine if you have hundreds and thousands and you have multiple facilities as well where you're trying to deliver that same example or same level of customer service. So what we're going to be talking about today are, instead of looking back at the prior podcast, it's great examples of customer service from small business, we're going to talk about lessons from the best in customer service, those that have multiple facilities, are regional or national in nature.
Okay, so some real known names, known companies, definitely, and big name companies that still have that huge challenge of delivering great customer service to their clients and customers, no matter how big they are and where they're located. So that sounds great. Looking forward to it. So we're going to jump into some examples, some kind of stories to illustrate these.
Yeah, we're definitely going to do that. We're actually going to start out with each one of these companies, and there's 4 companies we'll be talking about. We're going to start out by my testing your business acumen a little bit, Alan.
It's another quiz for Alan, so I always do so well in these. Let's see how we do today.
You do. One of these days, I'll actually give you a competitor to compete against. But for now, it's Alan versus Alan. So.
You know what? I don't actually want a competitor. I'm perfectly fine being the only competitor on these challenges. So
okay. Well, if you're competing against yourself, actually, there's two different types of questions I'm going to ask you, Alan. So we'll get to gauge how well you do on these. One is about your business acumen and knowledge, and the other is just about your common sense.
Ooh,
so by the end of our time together, we'll be able to say, is Alan a little bit smarter from a business perspective, or does he have more common sense from a business or life perspective?
You know what, Ed? I'm changing my mind. I don't know if I want to do this anymore.
Okay. Well, I will, like you said, ask you a few questions that relate to businesses that are well known for their customer service. Are you ready for the first one, Alan?
Absolutely. Bring it on.
All right. Well, I'm going to tell you part of the mission statement of a company. Okay. And I want you to tell me what industry that this company is in.
All right. You're going to tell me part of a mission statement.
Yes.
And I need to tell you what industry that business is in.
Sure. Or if you know the company, that'd be great. But
okay,
just even getting the industry would be great.
Gotcha. Will do. Okay.
Okay. So a strong part of the mission statement says that we are here to have a positive impact on the people that we come in contact with.
Whoa. That's a pretty broad area. To have a positive impact on the people we come into contact with.
Right.
I'm just throwing caution to the wind here. Is it the airline industry?
Unfortunately, not.
No, I was going to say that sounded a little too optimistic for the airline industry, but
yeah. It's the food industry, the restaurant industry. So, any particular company with great customer service come to mind in the restaurant industry.
Okay, the restaurant industry. Let's get a little more specific here, then.
Yeah.
In the restaurant industry, positive impact on people we come into contact with.
And you can think fast food if that helps.
Oh, you're narrowing it down to fast food.
Yes.
Well, let me just try just see if I can play your little game here. And I'm going to throw out McDonald's and just caution to the wind. I want to see if that's it.
Unfortunately, it's not.
Okay, not McDonald's. All right.
Yeah, it's Chick-fil-A.
Oh.
Yes.
Why didn't I think of Chick-fil-A? I was just thinking about Chick-fil-A this morning. It was just, I was a little time displaced on when I should have been thinking about them. So.
Well, we should have done the podcast 4 hours earlier when you had it in mind. Would have come out right off the top. But yeah, essentially, part of the mantra, or in this case, part of the actual mission statement for Chick-fil-A is to have a positive impact on the people that they come in contact with. So that could, just like you were saying, be any industry, any kind of business. And if we're talking about delivering great customer service, or this idea that we need to embrace the customer, it's very important for employees to understand, why is this important? Mm-hmm. I mean, why is this important to the company? What is the goal of the company? I mean, isn't the goal of Chick-fil-A to sell waffle fries and chicken sandwiches? But
really delicious chicken sandwiches. But yes,
delicious chicken sandwiches. Excellent point. So we got to remember that Chick-fil-A is a fast food restaurant, but if part of their mission is to have a positive impact on the people they come in contact with, it's not surprising that they have great service, because you're trying to, when you talk about the mission or purpose or reason for being here, when you have part of the mission statement that says, we are here to have a positive impact on the people that we come in contact with, that really is something that focuses on the employee. Why are you here? It's not to move the food along. It's not to ring up a transaction. It's that customer that's in front of you, the customer that's at the window, the customer that's ordering, whomever the case might be. When you're interacting with them, that is the most important person in the world to you at that moment in time, and you are supposed to have a positive impact on their experience. So it's one of those parts of a mission statement, one of those guiding principles for an organization that when you state it, it helps the employee know that it's not all about the product. Sometimes, and in a lot of cases with great customer service companies like Chick-fil-A, it's about the customer.
So the argument can almost be made that the actual products they're selling and the food that they're providing is almost secondary in a way.
Yes.
To instead more of a positive experience for the people that walk in the door.
Right.
Okay.
So if you're having a company, and I'll get into culture in my next example, but if you want to get everybody in the company, from leadership to frontline staff to the supervisors, to really buy into what the organization is about, you got to clearly articulate it. You got to clearly say it at the organizational level, that this is what the organization believes in. This is how we're going to treat employees. This is how we expect employees to treat their customers. And by actually building it into one of those key foundation statements, it just helps the employees to realize it's not all about the product. It's really all about the people.
You could almost make the argument that if Chick-fil-A one day decided, you know what, we're done with chicken. Mm-hmm. We're now going to go to tofu burgers or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Yes, obviously the product still has a lot of impact on how they do as a business, but I guarantee you if they kept the same service mentality, and let's say tofu became the next big thing for food anyway, they would just keep on trucking over time. They may, obviously have to change up with their products, but the culture, that mission is still carrying through. I guarantee you they would still be very successful no matter what their products were if they kept that same kind of service mentality.
Yeah, and that's a great point. It's not about the product. You could change the products over time, but they're really trying to build a culture. They're really trying to build a customer experience, and that's part of why they're so successful. It is part of the foundation of the organization as a whole, and everything that they do in the organization, the training. I've sat in on the orientation of the new employees, how they hire folks and look for folks who could be great in their organization. It all starts with what the organization believes, what they feel their purpose is. And then if you realize your purpose is to have a positive impact on others, you look for employees who care about that as well. You train them on how to do that as well. You orient them and you try to retain the people who are best at having a positive impact on the customers that they encounter.
Great. All right. So we got Chick-fil-A as our first example of obviously a nationally known firm that really has to work hard at customer service, but seems to be getting it right so far. And obviously they're a very successful, profitable business. So that does fall in line with that same idea as well.
Yeah, we're going to talk about another very profitable, very successful, very well-known business as well. This is more of a web-based business. I'll give you a little bit of a hint. Okay. But prior to actually getting into the company, I'll just ask you a quick question as a president of a business yourself.
Sure.
Would you offer prospective employees money not to work for you?
I actually know where you're going with this example. I've read this. And honestly, although I would love to say that I could, I don't see how I possibly could.
Yes.
But, yeah. But I love the idea.
Yeah. And do you know who I'm talking about company-wise?
I've got it down to maybe 2 or 3 in my head.
Okay.
It's not Google, is it?
Nope, it's not Google.
Okay. It's not Zappos.
That's correct. It is Zappos.
Okay, Zappos was the one. I knew it was one of those top 2 or 3 big names on the web there.
Yeah, so Zappos, it's actually an online retailer that they were known initially for selling shoes. Now they do other merchandise as well. But they literally offer employees money to leave the company, to quit their job. But let me kind of describe what that means.
Sure.
Prospective employees are brought on and go through what you might call a probationary period, working with Zappos. So they're actually employed. They're kind of learning about the organization, doing some work as well. But before they're brought on full time, but like I said, after they've had some of this probationary period go by and they've gotten some exposure to the culture of Zappos, they're actually offered money to leave.
Wow.
So literally employees are offered money to quit the company. It used to be a couple $100, and now the figure has moved into the thousands.
Thousands of dollars to leave the company.
Thousands of dollars to leave Zappos. And why has it gone to thousands? It's because employees keep turning down the offer.
So really it's almost all right, I'm gonna give a real stretch comparison here.
Okay.
It's almost like in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the original one, not the remake they tried to pull.
Yeah, I didn't like the remake much.
No. Who was it, the guy that technically Willy Wonka had hired to go and try to tempt the kids and saying, we're going to offer you money.
Looked evil.
Yeah, but we're going to give you this much money and make you rich if you do this. And in a way, they're tempting them because they kind of want to weed out those that aren't really going to stick to what Willy Wonka wanted from his guest. So you're talking the same kind of idea. So it's like, if we are able to give somebody $2,000 to leave and they take us up on it, chances are they were not going to be an employee that was going to be as engaged in the long term as the others would have been.
Right. They were more motivated by the extra money than they were by being part of this great experience, part of this culture. So we didn't want them anyway. They wouldn't help us to maintain the culture, to build the company, to buy in to the organization. So that's a great example with the Willy Wonka example as well.
Let me ask a little clarification on this, because honestly, I read about this a while back, and I just haven't had a chance to really talk with anybody in depth about it. So in a situation like that, let's say Zappos is offering this money to those employees. Is it something where you target just the employees that you maybe have a sense are not really key for the company, or is that an offer they give to everybody, even if it's their best performing top employees already. I mean, I guess I'm more curious about the logistics. If there was a company out there that wanted to take a very daring move like this, I could see it backfiring. You could have a really, really talented employee opt to take the money because of a short-term need that it may have. But I guess the overall writing idea is that, if they only want those who are going to be engaged long-term regardless. But so is this done universally to everybody?
Well, that's a good question. Just kind of narrow it a little bit. Since it is somewhat of a probationary period, the idea of a probationary period in most companies is that the company has the chance to say, hey, it's just not working out.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So to some extent, if it's obvious from Zappos' perspective it's not going to work out, they're not going to necessarily offer this person thousands of dollars to go through the probationary period.
Right. Gotcha.
But if it is somebody that they think would be a good fit, or they know would be a good fit, but they still want to put the responsibility back on the employee to commit to it or not, at that point they make the offer, see who takes it, and if they take it, great, but both parties can go on to their next step. But if they don't take it, then they feel confident they have an employee that's bought into the culture.
Okay, great. So it happens with Zappos, it happens during that probationary period time.
Exactly.
And it's just part of that process. If they're going to continue having somebody on the company, they make that offer. And you're right, it does kind of weed out those that say, you know what, the job was okay, but I'd rather be doing something else.
Right.
And they're giving me $2,000 to walk out the door. Yeah, I'll do that. Why not? So it gets rid of those. It gets rid of the dead weight, which is kind of cool. That's neat.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want in a company culture like Zappos to have apathy. Yeah. To have people who are motivated purely by the dollar, and they realize that, and they were thinking, well, how do we make sure we really have the people who have the passion, who really buy into it, and so they literally make that calculation and determine, okay, how do we weed those folks out or have them filter themselves out before they actually become full-time, full-fledged employees.
So what kind of impact does that have on Zappos? I mean, how's Zappos performing these days?
They're doing great. I mean, beyond all the publicity that they're doing, they are growing. They're getting into other sectors as well beyond the shoes, and there's a lot that people are learning from them, especially from a culture perspective. It's interesting because they have a great reputation for customer service, but whenever you talk to the CEO, and I can never pronounce his name correctly, but it's Tony Tsai or Hsieh, I believe. But he always talks about culture. If you want great customer service, you got to make sure you have a culture that can deliver the great customer service. So he really focuses on three main factors when he's talking about trying to build a culture that people are wanting to be a part of, as opposed to just being in because it's a job. And then the first is, very simply says it's got to be enjoyable to work there. People have got to have fun. You gotta see smiles on people's faces. There's got to be just that positive environment and atmosphere in general. People have got to enjoy working there in that kind of a culture. The second is there need to be really strong relationships between staff and vertically as well. And a lot of HR-related studies have shown that the most important relationship to the typical employee is the relationship with their supervisor. And if that's strong, high opportunity for job satisfaction and retention. If that's weak or negative, then you're much more at risk of employee loss. Right. And the third is an opportunity for professional growth, where just like a company wants to see the vision, wants to have goals, wants to see where they're going, so do the employees. So he's trying to find people who are going to make it an enjoyable place to work, are good at forming relationships with others, whether they're your superior or your direct report or somebody in another area, and people who are looking to grow. And if that's the kind of culture they want, then they feel like they have a great chance of delivering great customer service.
Very, very cool. And of course, every time I hear of a great example of customer service online with online retailers, Zappos always comes up in those conversations. I mean, they've just got that reputation out across the world as being really high customer service. Great. Doing things like, making sure they definitely take back returns very easily on things and no hassle, and keeping it as simple as possible for customers to get their products. They're a great model of that. So
the key point for Zappos, whether you're struggling with employee motivation or turnover or not, try to create a culture with these three characteristics. It's fun to work at. You have strong relationships across divisions and also vertically as well. And employees feel like there's an opportunity for professional growth.
Very nice. Very good. Great. Well, we've gone through two stories. I know we've got two more, and plus you and I both have our customer service experience that we'd like to do every episode as well to kind of cap that off. Let's take a really quick break. When we come back, we'll finish up our next two examples of companies, big companies who are just doing it right. Talking about the big ones out there that are playing the right rules by customer service. We're going to come back to that in just a moment. You're listening to Stepping Up Service here on themesh.tv.
We'll get back to your show in a moment. Just a reminder, you're listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Find out more at themesh.tv and give us feedback on what you like. And now, as promised, back to your show.
Welcome back to Stepping Up Service, our customer service discussion show here on themesh.tv. I'm Alan Jackson with the Jackson Group with Ed Gagnon from Customer Service Solutions. Ed, one of the examples we gave a little bit ago from Zappos about them paying people to leave, the intern sitting in the room wanted to know, does that same offer generally apply to interns? And they're wanting to know if they can get paid at the end of their internship if they don't stick around.
Well, that's an excellent question, and the answer is no.
Okay, no. Caitlin, Nick, sorry, the answer is no. You guys don't.
I'm just going to apply to every company and see if they can offer me to not work.
Nick says he's going to. Intern Nick says he's going to go off and apply to every single company he can and try to work as many different jobs just to get that money at the end of each of the terms.
Well, that's an excellent and highly productive approach. I don't know if it's the most efficient or smart, right. But hey, hardworking. I never argue with hardworking.
That's right. That's right. And intern Nick, you go see what you can get done with that. That sounds good. All right. Well, welcome back to Stepping Up Service. Again, we're on themesh.tv. If you want to listen to old episodes we've had back from the very beginning when we started this show, we've got, how many episodes now? Is it close to 20 episodes? Over 20 episodes?
Right. I think we started in August, so that would end up making, 17, 18, 19. Okay. Yeah, we're probably right at 20 with this episode.
Getting close to 20 episodes there that we've put out of Stepping Up Service. They're all free. They're all ones you can go and listen to, download, listen on the website, download to your iPad, iPhone, mobile device, anything. And they're all available either at themesh.tv or if you go to Apple on the iTunes store, search for Stepping Up Service or search for The Mesh, and you'll find us. And you can go and subscribe. We'd love to have subscriptions to the show. What that basically means is when you subscribe to the show, you are ensured that every time we put out a new episode, it's going to be downloaded to your player automatically. You don't have to go hunt for it. You don't have to be notified about it. You just open up iTunes or you open up any other podcast player you use. And if you're subscribed to the podcast, you get the episodes automatically. So we do encourage you to do that if you're a fan of the show. We'd also love to hear from you. If you got some ideas, questions, feedback for us, you can write us at info@themesh.tv. That's info@themesh.tv. Let us know thoughts on the show. Let us know any questions, ideas, or maybe suggestions for future topics. We'd love to hear from you on that. Okay, so Ed, back to our conversation about some of the really big names in the business world that are really great examples of customer service. Talking about those big companies that are internationally known, real challenge to try to keep a customer service culture going, as you mentioned earlier in our conversation. We've already talked about Chick-fil-A and we talked about Zappos. Let's go into some other examples. What do you got for us?
All right. Well, here's the next question. Okay. Alan, what industry, what type of company, so kind of name their industry, has this as their motto?
Okay.
This is one company in an industry, so tell me the industry. We are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, I've heard this one, but what is that? You're ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. Is it a clothing store? No?
No.
Okay, you're shaking your head no, so I'm taking that as a no. Let me see if I can have a second chance. Hold on. The industry, oh boy. I'm stumped. Is it some sort of travel, like hotel? Is it
yes.
It's a hotel. Okay, all right, hold on.
Yes.
Is it what's the one big chain, the big hotel that's so well known?
You can do it, Alan.
Intern Nick, come on, help me out here. No, it's not Four Seasons. Is it Marriott? Is it Marriott?
Think higher end.
What's the higher? I don't ever go to higher end hotels. I'm a Hampton Inn guy. I don't know. What's the higher?
Yeah, me too. I like that.
What's the higher end one?
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Go ahead and bring it.
Ritz-Carlton.
Ritz-Carlton. That's the one. Okay.
Yeah.
So Ritz-Carlton's mission is we are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's their motto. And when you think about that, I mean, that actually tells you a lot. It says, first of all, we are ladies and gentlemen, because, and when you see a phrase like that, it's basically describing to the employees how they are supposed to present themselves, how they are supposed to view themselves and how they're supposed to behave. You think about what ladies and gentlemen are. There's a little bit of a refinement, definitely a respectful nature in terms of body language, how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you engage others. But the other interesting thing is it says we're serving ladies and gentlemen. So it's not just saying we're serving customers. It's trying to put in the minds of the employees how we should view those people that we are serving and how respectful we should be to them and how we should engage them. So in something as simple and as short as that, a 9-word motto, they're actually painting a picture about who we are and how we should view ourselves and who our customers really are and how we should view them.
Oh, wow. I really like that. I've always liked that slogan, and I hate that I couldn't place the company, but I know I had heard that before, and I think it's just really classy. I really like that.
And it's interesting when you think about Ritz-Carlton, and we've actually contacted them in the past when we were, especially early on as a company, we were trying to learn about those organizations that have that great reputation for customer service, and they sent us a series of materials. And it's interesting because they have a company credo that talks about why they're there and what they pledge to do and what the experience ought to be like. They have this motto that we've talked about. They have 3 steps of service. Just very simply, I'll read these to you. Number 1 is a warm and sincere greeting. Use the guest's name if and when possible. Number 2, anticipating and complying with guests' needs. So that proactive nature.
Yes.
And then number 3, a fond farewell. Give them a warm goodbye and use their names if and when possible. So very specific, very simple, very clear. They also have 20 what they call Ritz-Carlton basics. And number 1 says the credo will be known and owned and energized by all employees. And I'll kind of pause there because if I read that again, one of their 20 Ritz-Carlton basics is that the credo will be known, owned, and energized by all employees. Essentially what they're saying is we expect you to do this.
Right, sure.
Expect you to know these things. It's not just something that's going to be on the wall. You have to know what these simple steps are. You have to know what the credo is. You have to understand these things. You have to be excited, passionate, and energized by them. And then you have to live these different documents. So the real key point here with Ritz-Carlton is if you want to have great customer service as an organization, you have to document it. You have to be real clear with the staff. What exactly do we mean by great customer service? What exactly do you expect of us as employees in delivering great customer service? We have a lot of organizations that are clients that have developed customer service standards, which are literally stating those bare minimum expectations that you expect of others. So if you want to be great at customer service, document it, even if it's a matter of branding it. This is the Ritz-Carlton way of delivering customer service. If you can do that, you have a much better chance of getting great customer service from your staff.
And there's a few organizations, Ritz-Carlton being one of them, where, like you just said, it is almost like a branded form of their customer service standards. You think about the Disney way. It's kind of a very well-known standard as well. The Ritz-Carlton way is something that people just, when you hear Ritz-Carlton, you think customer service. That's what they're known for now. They have worked that so hard and got that into the brains of every single person that works there and even the people that walk in the door as a guest, that it's now, again, if you had gone opposite way and asked me, what do I think of when I hear Ritz-Carlton, the first thing I would have said was their excellent service. That's what you think of. So that's great. I think sometimes too, a lot of companies take for granted that, just like you said, saying the words customer service to their employees, everybody knows what that means. Where some employees, hearing the word customer service means they just smile a lot. Others mean it's just I talk with a pleasant tone, but that's all I need to do. Others may think it's all about how we internalize things within the office, but not necessarily out with the customers or out in the community. So you're right. Having that stamped down somewhere, written out, easy to identify, easy to see, it does standardize it across the organization and make sure everybody knows the same information. You can't take that for granted.
Yeah, and that's a great point. We actually this week just finished working with a local government client on creating a customer service vision statement. Just because of that, they said, well, we've always cared about customer service. We've had this initiative for 5 years. but we've never really clearly articulated and documented what do we mean by that. What exactly does it look and feel like? And we've presented it to a couple of groups. It was an employee-led initiative. It was initially chartered by leadership, but employee-led in defining what that should look like, had some leadership involvement, and they're very happy with it, and it's because that it applies to them, it's clear to them, and it's very easy for them to look at that vision statement and say, yeah, I can see what we mean now by customer service, and I can see especially what we mean by great customer service, our company's way of delivering great customer service.
Well, it's good for the employee, and it's good for the organization growth-wise, but it's also good for those in leadership roles when they're able to evaluate the employees they have, because you have a very clear set of expectations. You can honestly say, does this employee do A, B, C, and D, as opposed to just, are they good with customer service? Because that's a very broad, vague concept. So having that very specific has a lot of different advantages for the organization, for sure.
Yeah, when you talk about these Ritz-Carlton basics, the 20 points, it gets at exactly what you're talking about. One is on proper telephone etiquette. One is on uniforms. One is on cleanliness. One is on how do you deal with guest incidents and how do you handle those effectively. So when you're talking about how do you actually hold people accountable to those standards, recognize people for doing great above and beyond the standards, it all starts with having standards in the first place.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. All right. So, Ed, I'm realizing as I'm going into the fourth example here, I haven't done very well at all on this quiz.
You've done well. I mean,
really, I feel like it's taken me a few times to even get the industry, and then I'm generally not getting the business. I'm really starting to doubt my mental prowess on these quizzes. I normally do really well, so maybe this last one, hopefully this last one will help redeem me.
Well, let's do this. Let's do the old double or nothing. We'll assume you get a perfect score if you get the last one right.
I would like to have the previous three stricken from my record if I get this fourth one right. Okay.
All right. Well, here we go. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, I'm going to set this up. You answer the question first, and then we'll actually get into guessing who the company is. How does that sound?
Sure.
All right, the question is, why would a hotel or a coffee shop or a bookstore, or the Jackson Group for that matter, accept a return of the item if the item being returned was a set of 4 tires?
Why would they accept a return if the return was a set of 4 tires?
Yeah, why would any company that has nothing to do with automobiles actually accept a return of 4 tires?
Well, a company like if it was my company, the Jackson Group, which has nothing to do with automotive work,
right? Why
would we accept a return of tires?
Yeah,
I can't think of any reason why I would.
Okay, now this company that I'll be speaking of as the fourth company is a retailer.
Okay,
kind of like a department store. And they did accept a return of 4 tires, which they did not sell. They accepted the return from a customer. Well, who do you think the company is?
Oh boy, hold on. I can do this. I'm thinking. Okay, just how about give me a hint? Is it a high-end retailer or
it's a high-end retailer that has a reputation for great customer service, obviously, and they did, I guess, about 8 years ago, open up a store in Charlotte.
Is it Nordstrom?
You are correct.
Hey, I am redeemed. I am redeemed. A perfect score. You are. Perfect score.
You're officially perfect, Al.
The previous 3 are off my record. Very nice. All right, good.
Yeah.
So Nordstrom accepted tires in a return that they didn't sell?
Yes. And from what I understand, I was somewhere in the Midwest. It might have been Chicago or something like that. But the full story, if you wonder why this particular customer actually returned the tires, she did buy the tires from a store at the location where Nordstrom's was. But it was like a Sears store, went out of business, and then Nordstrom's went into that location. And then months later, the lady brought the tires back. And they said, ma'am, we don't sell tires, but the customer was like, but I know I bought the tires here. Ma'am, I'm sorry, we don't sell them. Oh, I'm certain I bought them here. And they took the tires back.
Wow.
And they gave her a refund.
How nice is that? I mean, it's, I could see some true business people like thinking just balance sheet, profit and loss numbers and all that, probably racking their brains saying, why in the world would you do that? But that customer walked away from that experience saying, you know what? That Nordstrom place took care of me. And chances are pretty high if she needs to go shopping again, that's probably going to be one of the places she ends up.
Right, and that story has been told literally tens of thousands of times over the years.
Wow.
Very, very, very well-known story in certain customer service circles. And when you look at the Nordstrom's policy manual, it's interesting because it's talking to the employees. Basically, the employee manual says, "We're glad to have you with our company. Our number one goal is to provide outstanding service." You look at some of the Nordstrom's rules for employees. Number one rule says, "Use your good judgment in all situations." The number two rule says there will be no additional rules.
Wow.
Yeah.
How great is that?
Yeah. So essentially, they're just laying it out right there. It's all about the customer. It's all about customer service. It's all about empowerment. We are going to empower our staff to serve customers.
All right, think about it this way for all you numbers and cents people out there. Nordstrom's accepted a return of tires. Let's say each tire was, I don't know, let's be on the high side. Let's say it was $100, okay? $400. They basically just ate $400 in money. But that story has been told thousands of times online, in training seminars all over the world, helping boost the image of Nordstrom even further. That was the best spent $400 from a publicity standpoint and a reputation standpoint I think I could see any company doing. Right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what it does is I would imagine it even impacts the other employees at Nordstrom that heard one of their coworkers doing that to say, you know what? Yes, this is a company that we do these kind of things. And I guarantee that was not the last example of a similar situation that Nordstrom's done over the years.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I think it's a great point about how it impacted other employees. I mean, when they hear this story, they realize, hey, I'm not going to get my hand slapped if I do something that might be a little bit above and beyond. If some employee can take back $400 worth of tires, I can surely allow a return without a receipt, or I can surely just hop in my car and deliver a pair of shoes to some customer that I've worked with in the past because they didn't have time to get to their store. It gives them a little bit of internal freedom and empowerment to do what's right for the customer.
Absolutely. Oh, that's great. That's such a good example there. So,
yeah.
It's another one of those things where, customer service, I know there's always those roadblocks people think about. Like they always, when you're thinking productivity and efficiency and profitability and all the typical things you need running a business, but examples like the four we've been talking about, little examples of those service, just going above and beyond providing that customer service, has helped these companies grow and get the reputation they've got and keep customers coming back to the point where all four of them are extremely successful companies right now.
Yeah. If you look at the four, Chick-fil-A, it starts with their organizational mission, defining it at their level. When you look at Zappos, it's saying, what kind of culture do you want? You want to have a culture that enables great customer service. When you look at Ritz-Carlton, it's saying we not only need to document it at the organizational level, but we need to document it at the individual employee level. And then you look at it from the Nordstrom's perspective, and you're talking about don't just document what you expect, but make sure you're not slowing or impeding or restricting the employee's ability to deliver great customer service. So make sure, even though you're defining what you expect, you're definitely empowering your staff to serve their customers.
Wonderful. That's great.
Yeah.
These examples just show, even these big companies with their huge hierarchy and structure and remote locations all around the world, can still grab onto that idea of great customer service and put forth those examples that we share and talk about and seminars we go to and in books and everything else. It's tougher to do. The bigger you get, the tougher it is to organize these things sometimes. So I can almost say it might be even a greater challenge for some of these companies to keep that kind of culture going.
Yes.
I'm sure you and I we may even be talking about one of them later in our examples, possibly large companies that just have lost that touch because they've gotten too big and they can't operationalize that customer service culture the bigger they got. So, yeah. Very nice. Ed, great. Thanks for sharing those four notes, and congratulations to me for, once again, winning the quiz here on Stepping Up Service. Now, Ed, if I'm correct in thinking this way, I think at this point during the history of all of our show of Stepping Up Service, I'm perfect scorer. Am I not in our little quizzes that we do? Am I right in saying that?
Well, you were until shortly after last month's podcast.
Wait a minute. What are you talking about? I don't
know if you remember this, but we actually had a little bet on who would win the Duke-Carolina game last month. And I think one of us was correct and you were incorrect.
Right. I do vaguely remember that now. So,
yeah, yes.
I will tell you, and it's a little off topic here, but yes, I took my family to the Carolina Duke game. Was so excited to be able to go be in Chapel Hill and enjoy that. We had a wonderful day. It was just, everything was great. Everything, perfect day, great food, great weather. And then we got to the game that night, and boy, oh boy, was that not fun. So I've got no comeback on that. Yeah, we got romped bad. So I guess I was wrong on that one day.
Well, but at least you're having more of your key players come back next year than Duke, so that'll give you a little bit of solace there.
But Duke's always going to have a good team, and I still love the rivalry, so I think it's always fun to watch. So,
yeah.
Okay, all right. So getting back to customer service, I could talk about college basketball all day, and I'm sure you and I could probably have some even more fun conversations down the road. So at least the season is over. I'm a little sad, but we'll have plenty to talk about for next year.
Oh yeah.
So, Ed, we always like to cap off our show by giving a little bit of an example, kind of our own personal experience with something customer service related. I know you've got a positive one. Is that correct for today?
Yes.
I've got a negative one. So how about let's end on a positive note. I'm going to go first.
Okay.
And then let you give the positive one afterwards, okay? So we mentioned the hotel industry earlier in one of our examples. You mentioned Ritz-Carlton as being one of those big hotel chains that got it right. I am not going to mention the hotel chain that I had experience with recently, but I was out of town for a wedding. It was a last-minute decision to go to the wedding, so it was a last-minute hotel reservation. This particular city, it was pretty full and as far as hotel reservations, so we were stuck with one, not exactly the brand hotel that I would have chosen by default, but it is what it is. The people there, very nice. The hotel itself was a nice hotel. Here is the problem, though. The signage, both for elevator floors, signage of how to get to the parking, signage of how to get to your room, was absolutely horrible. To the point where we were not the only people that was getting confused. It was one of those things where you have a M floor and a G floor and a B floor, and there was no clear signage anywhere. Which floor got you to the lobby, which one got you to parking, which one got you where. I, on 3 different occasions, found myself walking out of the elevator surrounded by service staff. Like I was in the sub-basement of the hotel, basically. And I consider myself a pretty competent guy. I can navigate myself around a hotel. But yet here I was stumbling around trying to find where my room was, trying to find where to get to the parking lot. And it's like, okay, so do I go to M or G? Which one is where my car is? And it's like, and even some of the staff had to kind of sit there and think for a second, like, okay, wait a minute. M is where the lobby is. G is where this is. It's like, okay, you've got to help me out here with signage. I need some sort of clear labeling of how to get places. And there were other couples and people that we would find coming out of elevators not knowing where they were either. It was just a real mess. And it goes to show that even though the staff were great and everything else was fine, we still remember that hotel as the one that had the really messed up directions. And that's now the image we have of that hotel going forward. So kind of goes back to some of the things you've always said about is your processes have to be solid. You can't just have people with smiling faces. And that definitely was the case with us. I mean, we got ourselves so confused. And then they had construction going on in one room, and it wasn't really clearly labeled that there was construction going on. So you kept hearing these loud noises, and you didn't know what that was. And it was just communication, signage, and clarification was just not there. So that's my service experience. It was more funny than it was a true bad experience. But unfortunately, that is now the stigma we have attached to that hotel chain going forward. So,
yeah. And it's interesting because even if it was funny, it wasn't funny to the point that you actually want to go back there.
Right. No, we would not want to go back to that hotel.
Yes.
So you're right. Exactly. It's from a business standpoint, no, there's nothing funny about it. That hotel just lost some future business because they didn't spend a few $100s and get some nice signage in the elevators in the hall to let people know where to go. So.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we often talk about how an organization, if they really wanted to create an environment, an experience that was great for anybody, they need to ask themselves the question, would a first-time customer have as good an experience as a long-term customer? And that's why we do a lot of mystery shopping, to really enable the company to take a step back and see the experience through the eyes of their customer. And a lot of what we come out with are recommendations about facility and signage and layout and that sort of thing. And that's a perfect example. They might have hired really nice people who are constantly dealing with really confused customers who never want to go back there again.
That's
so
right.
If they'd have done something right in the first place with the facility layout, signage used, then maybe their staff wouldn't have to field those kind of concerns and direction questions all the time.
Absolutely. Completely agree.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's end on a positive note. What's the story you got for us?
And this is actually a local government positive story.
Okay.
To give you a little bit of brief background, our neighborhood has protested a rezoning effort in our community where we had a lot that was set up for maybe about a dozen individual homes, and it was cleared, and a builder came in and wanted to add about 45, 46 townhomes instead that are built up, towering over all the homes in the neighborhood, very urban-like, even though we don't live anywhere near an urban setting.
Sure. So
to make a long story short, as we were trying to get organized to protest this, and we were trying to get educated on zoning and that sort of thing, there was a gentleman named Solomon, and he worked in the city government, and basically he is the one who helps to shepherd these permits and the protests through the process. And we called him multiple times. We emailed him multiple times. And when we left messages, he would always get back to us the same day. When we get on the phone, he was always patient with us. He was definitely in educational mode, confirming we understood. When he would answer the question, it would be detailed enough that you didn't feel like you were going to have to do a bunch of research after the fact. And if he did know the answer, he would make sure you knew where to go get that specific answer, or he would try to investigate it and get it for you. So it's one of these situations where this is somebody who's necessarily not getting paid for how many transactions they process or how many sales they make. This is somebody who is getting paid to do a job. And it's not, he wasn't very transaction oriented. More so, he was very patient, very customer oriented. And even though, the process overall might be a little bit difficult to have to go through, he was so responsive, so nice, so genuine, so detailed that it made the process easier.
That's great. And I work as well with our local government and I know they're taking a lot of efforts on improving that process, as I think many cities and counties are doing, the whole permitting and development process, because you're really trying to cater to, obviously you want to promote growth in your area and you want people to want to come build and develop in your area. And it's a tough thing when you've got all the paperwork and red tape and processes to go through to stay customer service friendly with that. But that sounds like a great example of somebody that knows the importance of keeping everybody informed, responding to questions, and keeping everybody happy. Because all that does is take you guys in the community and you become more vocal advocates for your community to other people outside because of that type of effort. Yeah. Right.
And it helps to overcome the stereotypes you hear about local government. I mean, there's a lot of great people who are trying to do the right thing. There's processes that are being revised. And if people just give the people a chance in local government, sometimes they're pleasantly surprised at the level of service they can get. Sure, they have to deal with the policies, they have to deal with the ordinances, they have to deal with the legalities, but there's a lot of local government organizations that are really working hard to make it as customer service friendly as possible.
That's great. Good. Well, some good examples, one good, one bad, but it is a reminder that we're experiencing customer service, things like this. All of us are. Everybody listening to this every single day, whether good or bad. Take note of the bad ones, what made them bad. Take note of the good ones, what made them good. And those are the same kind of lessons we can apply to our own business, our careers, whatever it may be. We know the importance of this stuff, and I think the 4 examples, Ed, you gave help illustrate no matter what size company, there's examples out there of people who are getting it right, and we can learn a lot from those and apply to our own place of work. Great. Yes. Ed, thanks so much today for your time. We really appreciate it. Ed is with Customer Service Solutions. You can learn more about Customer Service Solutions, the great work that Ed's doing with many, many companies and industries around the world at cssamerica.com. That's cssamerica.com. Ed, you've got blogs and email newsletters and other things that you do there, so encourage people to go check it out and get in contact with you if they'd like to be in the loop on that kind of dialogue going on.
Yep, that'd be great.
Good. And then I'm Alan Jackson with the Jackson Group. You can learn more about us at thejacksongroup.com. That's THEJacksonGroup.com. Employee customer satisfaction surveys, leadership development, and data collection and survey research work. And of course, you're listening to The Mesh at themesh.tv. Again, go check out all the back shows on Stepping Up Service, as well as listen to any other shows we may have on the network. Leadership GPS is our leadership development show. We've got some entertainment shows. We've got a music show. We've got some sports shows. ACC Sports Journal, as Ed and I were talking about the Carolina Duke game, a little bit of a connection there. ACC Sports Journal, their podcast is on our network every week. So just some great stuff to listen to, and it's all free. Just go download it to your preferred player of choice and enjoy and give us some feedback. Let us know what you like or some ideas for getting things better in the future. So with that, we're going to sign off for Stepping Up Service. Thanks so much for listening. We'll look forward to talking to you next episode. Take care.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.